Okay, I'm still suffering from the flu, but I think I'm a bit more on the mend. So I felt good enough to just go ahead and record a video on Doom Patrol. This episode was called The Puppet Patrol. And the reason being was they're still searching for Niles, the chief, after he was abducted by Mr. Nobody. And they tracked down Mr. Nobody's origins to this Nazi doctor who gave him the powers. And so they find him in Paraguay. And the guy, once they get there, he's still offering superpowers to people. And there's actually a tourist that they meet up with who wants to get magnet feet, I believe, or something like that. So you go there and they give you a presentation on the doctor's story and everything. And it's this puppet show. But during the puppet show, they understand that while Mr. Nobody was being created, Niles had actually shown up and shot up the place in an attempt to stop it. So that's probably the origin of their rivalry between the two. The rest of the show, of course, gives you a little more character study of the different characters and all that. But for primarily, it's on Larry Trainor, the negative man. And his whole life and his being in the closet and all that sort of thing. You got more details of all that. And he attempts to use this chamber that the Nazi doctor had that was used to create Mr. Nobody. And he feels that maybe he can separate himself from the negative entity and have his own life back. And of course, this doesn't happen, but he tries anyway. But there's a confrontation between the two. And it would seem to suggest that he was, Larry is saying to the entity that you've ruined my life, you destroyed me and all this stuff. And the entity, it seems to be suggesting that no, his life was already a mess because he was in denial and he was ruining the lives of his lover and he was ruining the lives of his wife and family and all this stuff because he wouldn't be true to himself and so on and so forth. And no, that doesn't excuse the entity. What the entity did is far worse than what Larry Trainor did in his denials. The entity literally burns him alive by crashing his plane. and now he's, radioactive. There's a scene there where the radiation from him is so severe that it just kills the whole hospital staff that he's staying in. And so they have to keep him in a special, lead-lined room and all this sort of thing. And eventually you can understand that that's what the bandages are for. They're probably special bandages that keeps him contained so that he's not a threat to others. But, boy, what a miserable existence the poor bastard had. And so maybe, you can, give him marks, bad marks for, being in denial and, kind of messing with other people's lives and all that. But that's nothing compared to what this thing did to him, So give the guy a break, but so anyway, you get more of a detail of him and all that in his story. The others, a little bit more here and there. Certainly Cyborg with his dad. And then it was the interesting thing with Cyborg. He says, hey, we can get a private jet and head to Paraguay. And he calls up his dad and says, I'm going to need the jet. And the dad said, oh, you coming home? And he said, no, I got a mission to do with these guys. And he said, well, I thought you were going to be your own man. So figure out on your own how to, get your travel arrangements. Well, of course he can't. So they try to drive it in the bus. So after the adventure happens and they head back home, his dad contacts him and says, all right, I'll send the plane and you can go. But I kind of wondered if maybe he was hacked and he's not really seeing his father and they're being led into a trap. I don't know. They're all on the plane and they're all kind of upset with what happened, and I'll get into that. But yeah, I just thought maybe there was something to that because the message from his father ends rather abruptly. And I wondered, was it really his father or was he being hacked and is Mr. Nobody screwing with him? Because then he sees a vision of that it wasn't an auto accident that killed his mother and injured him to where he had to become cyborg. It looks like he got in an argument with his mother and he threw a bunch of vials in the lab and it exploded. And that might have been what caused the problem. And And, he's like, is this real? Which means he inadvertently killed his mother. So is that true, or is that, Mr. Nobody or somebody, messing with his footage? Now, he authenticates the footage, but still, so is he being hacked? That's the thing. I don't know if that's what's going on there. Anyway, they do go to the Fucktopia. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Oh, man, that cough is bad. Yeah, so that's what the place is called. And the Nazi doctor, of course, he's very old, but he's kept alive with his machines, and he's able to project his mind into the bodies of all these people who are in lederhosen and all that. And once he realizes they're on the behalf of Niles Calder, he wants to attack them, and they fight. And Jane ends up fighting him and killing him. And a bunch of the guys attack Robot Man, and he fights him, and it's really brutal. I mean, he's just beating the crap out of these people, and their heads are exploding, and they're ripping them apart and all this stuff. And then after it's over, he's really horrified with what he's done. And there's also the point to be made here that who were these people? Were they creations of the Nazi doctor, or did he just abduct a bunch of people and take over their bodies with his ability to project his mind into them? And if that's the case, then these were a bunch of innocent people who were forced into this, and they just slaughtered them. And Jane and Robot Man did that. So who knows? And so they're both kind of disgusted at what they did, and they don't really talk about it, and they leave. And that's pretty much how it ends. The show, of course, is incredibly surreal, and that's one of the main pushes for it. It's still not in league with Legion, that show really captures surrealism to a height, but this one is working hard at it, and is still bringing compelling stories. And I'm thinking this was a very good episode, the Puppet Patrol. And I think they're getting better at it. And so this is a 5-star review of this particular episode. And it's similar to Titans, where I saw potential. I don't think Titans ever fully realized its potential. This one's looking like it just might do that. Still, is this something that I said, if you're not paying for the service, you need to sign up to watch it? Yeah, I can't quite recommend that, because there's, it's only so many. This is only 2 new series they put on the thing. It's all a bunch of other old stuff. If you're a diehard DC fan, you're probably already signed up. I don't think it's quite there where you can't afford to miss this, and I'm assuming they'll provide it on Blu-ray and DVD at some point, so you can check it out like that. But it's not quite there. Is that you need to sign up for this service. I can't really say that, but this was a good episode. So there you go. Doom Patrol, titled Puppet Patrol. Yes, puppet. Again, apologies for my flu symptoms, and we'll do this again real soon. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye.